Good afternoon. Welcome to another day of opportunities, possibilities, miracles, and choices. It's a grand day to be here, September the 25th, a grand day to be alive. I want to thank all of you for joining in. Thank those of you who were with us last week and the last several weeks and months and have been sharing the messages, have been passing the messages on to others, have been reflecting on it yourself. I want to thank you all for doing just that. Well, I got some new viewers out of Washington, D.C., actually my cousin Reggie and his wife, Cassandra. So I want to thank them for joining in with us as well. So how did things go for you last week when we talked about riding the wave, right, of circumstances and situations that come up? Did you share that story with anybody? Did you add to it your story to make it alive and real? Did you do any of that? Hopefully so. Hopefully so. What about your relaxing and breathing? Did you do some of that? Before we get into this, I want to take a moment and I want to share with you a little bit about your community that you're a part of, this mindful moment community, because you don't hear all the comments and the phone calls and the messages that I get. I'm sure you have your own set, but this group, this community, though you don't have a membership card and there's no annual fees, this is a very rich community, a very powerful community. These are people who tend to view and watch this, who tend to be analytical in their ways of looking at things. They tend to not look at things at just surface value. They tend to go deep instead of just wide in terms of gathering more information. It's a very powerful group, and pretty much everybody that I talk to that's inside of our mindful community radiate this out to other people. But we don't know that we're connected with others like that. But I just want you to know that you're in a pretty powerful and strong community. Maybe one day we'll have some technology or something that'll bring us together, and we'll have a live event as well. That'll be really, really powerful. So stay tuned for that one. I'm sure that's going to be coming soon. Let's begin by relaxing and breathing. Just simply concentrating on our inhale and our exhale. And this time when you inhale with the thoughts of I am. Exhale with the thought of I am not. You're inhaling with the thought of all the things that you are, the strengths, the resiliency you have, the power that you are, and you're exhaling the things that you want to be no longer a part of, or you don't want to be a part of your life. Inhale with the thoughts of I am. Exhale with the mind of I am not. Those things are not good, that are not good for my well-being. And you can repeat that as you know anytime you want. A situation come up, you're in traffic, you're at the office, you're walking along, you can always use that tool. Here's what I add to that relaxing and breathing segment. You remember how we've been talking about those limitations that we have as humans, and because we forget that, or we get overwhelmed with circumstances and we find ourselves tensing up. Here is another limitation that I want you to consider, and this is going to be especially hard for many of you who are tuning in right now. And that's this. Give yourself permission to realize that you cannot fix everything. You forget that because some of you who are in the military have fixed situations in other countries and even in this country that others thought couldn't be fixed. Those of you who tune in who are in the field of healthcare, you have fixed and helped and healed and helped people manage through difficult periods. Those who are parents who have helped your children or grandchildren or others to make it through. Those who are employers, who have employees under them, or people who come to you for answers. You have fixed things so much, so often, so many times that they write books and movies about what you do, and you have bought into the Superman, the Superwoman myth, and now you think you can fix everything, and you get stressed out and can't relax and breathe because you're trying to fix everything. Give yourself permission to realize you can't fix everything. In fact, it's not even your job to fix some things. It's other people's jobs. I know you have found times when you've been putting more work into fixing something than someone else. In addition to that, did you know that there's just some things that can't be fixed? Give yourself permission to be human and just recognizing, despite or in spite of the fact that other people may be assuming and wanting you to fix all these things. Give yourself that permission to be human, to realize you can't fix everything. And you have to sometimes take your hands out of the pot and allow the natural circumstances of events to play themselves out. And that can be painful when it's happening to someone close to you. You may want to fix family matters. You may want to fix a situation that's going on with another couple or with somebody else's situation, when actually they need to be working on fixing it themselves. Just give yourself permission to be human on that. So that's our piece. And now we come to our mindful moment content. I first heard this piece in a movie that Charles Bronson, I think, was in years ago. And an excerpt from this movie was used to engage a sleeper cell that was going to start doing something, I don't know, terrorist acts or something like that. Then my daughter, when she was in grammar school, brought it home, and this was something that she had to learn. And I became very passionate about it, and I learned it myself. And I would say that to her whenever we would leave and go different directions. And then recently, a friend of mine's niece, 7 or 8 years old, was given this piece and told to study it and memorize it and then determine its meaning. Now I will tell you what that piece is. It's called Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. It's by Robert Frost. Some of you know most of it. Let me just do this first part here. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. Now we skip to the last part of the piece. You might say it with me. The woods are lovely, dark, and deep. But I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep. And miles to go before I sleep. I say that often sometimes when I'm talking to people who are about to leave. Woods are lovely, dark, and deep. Promises to keep. Miles to go before I sleep. Let's examine this just a little closer, a little mindfully, as we do in this community. First, the observation of the woods. It's about a man, and my interpretation of this, by the way. There are many interpretations out there. I'm sharing with you what mine is. See if you can relate to it. You may have your own. Consider this one. The woods, observation of the woods, is about journeying and traveling through life. He said they're lovely, dark, and deep. I think that represents the lovely things that are out there that can be a distraction, that can keep us from getting to where it is that you want to go. Those things that are great things, but they may take you off your track. Things that are dark. So those gloomy things, those things that bring sadness and heavy weight to you, and you feel weighted down, and you feel like, and some use that expression, I'm in a dark place now. And then lastly, those things that are overwhelming, he said, that are deep, those things that make you feel overwhelmed or consumed, like you're in the hole, and how am I going to get out of this debt? How am I going to ever recover from this divorce? How am I going to manage the emotions that I'm having right now that's so overwhelming and consuming? So he said, the woods are lovely, they're dark and they're deep, but in spite of this, he said, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. So he said, no matter what I'm experiencing, no matter what I'm going through, I've got some promises that's going to cause me to push through it. So let's look at the promises now. If I can, I'll give you 3 areas, but you don't hear people making promises as much and keeping them anymore, do you? You hear people promising acts of violence, right? I promise you, if somebody does this to me, I'm going to do such and such to them. They promise those kinds of things, but how about promising good? promising wellness? Do you hear that kind of promise as much? What promises have you made about yourself that will cause you to get through the things that are dark and that are deep and even the things that are lovely? But you have a promise to yourself to get through. I encourage you to consider a few areas. The first one is physical. Have you promised yourself, or can you make a promise to yourself that you're going to take care of you, or I'm going to take care of me physically? And no matter what goes on, no matter what happens, no matter what opportunities I may have, I'm not going to take an opportunity that's going to cause me to deteriorate physically. I'm going to take care of this temple. Because if we're not taking care of ourselves physically, how can you actually expect someone else to love and care for this vessel of yours? Have you promised that no matter what happens, no matter how dark things get, no matter how deep things are, you're going to take care of yourself physically? What about a promise to take care of yourself mentally, intellectually? That you're going to work to advance yourself so you can become, as my dear brother Lamont says, a mental beast. And you can become mentally strong, a force to be reckoned with. Have you promised to take care of yourself mentally so that in spite of this influx, this bombardment of information that we get, that you have been intentional about pulling and extracting from all of these sources things that will build you up and make you mentally strong? Have you promised that no matter what's going on, you're going to continue to improve yourself intellectually? How about emotionally? Have you made a promise to yourself that I'm going to take care of my heart and my emotional well-being? You don't have to look very far to see people who have not been able to do that, because something happens and they no longer take care of themselves emotionally. You know, because they're experiencing a dark time, they go to that dark place because they haven't found someone that they can talk to. They haven't found something that they can do. They haven't discovered somewhere that they can go. I'm suggesting that you promise yourself that I'm going to take care of me emotionally. So when I'm going through these woods of life that are lovely, dark, and deep, I promise myself I'm going to take care of me emotionally. It's not a selfish statement. How about morally? Can you promise yourself that I'm going to take care of myself and build and develop my moral character and my moral fiber? I have seen people, being in the field of professional entertainment for over 20 some years and speaking and traveling around, I have seen people who have received opportunities, not negative things happening, but big things happening, opportunities, and because of that they lost their footing. They lost their moral standard because someone had an opportunity to be with someone they considered a star or somebody famous. They lost their moral footing. Can you agree that I'm going to take care of myself morally? No matter how many good things come to me, I'm going to stay grounded. No matter what negative happens, there's certain things morally that I'm choosing to not do. Have you made that promise to do that? Financially, have you made a promise to yourself that I'm going to take care of myself financially? I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to decide what financial wellness actually is. I'm going to learn that it may not be about money, but about having the necessary things in life for me and not being fooled by the things that I see in the media. Have you made and can you make that kind of promise to yourself? That as you journey through these woods of life that are lovely, dark, and deep, that this thing, the promises you made to yourself, will help you to make it through. But if you operate without promise, without conviction, without clarity about who you are and where you're going, then it's going to be difficult for you to stay the course as you travel through the woods of life. I want to give you just a little bit. I won't go all the way into it, but how about your promise to others? Have you made a promise to others that gets you through those difficult times, or that makes it through difficult? Do you have that kind of loyalty or promise to others? I saw this firsthand with my father when he was caring for my mother. As she was nearing the end of her days of transition, and there were people suggesting that maybe he should put her or consider putting her in a home somewhere or having someone else take care of her. And he said to me over and over again, I ended up writing a song about it called I Made a Promise. He said, and he would tell me, he said, I can't do that. He said, I made a promise to your mother that I would take care of her. And I'm going to stand true to that. He stuck with that promise even though his health in life started to deteriorate as he tried to take care of her, which happens with caregivers. But there was a promise that was pulling him through the dark times, through those woods of deepness. That promise kept him going, that I can do this. I made a promise. Are you able to commit to others that way? The true friends that you might have? We get fooled because we have so many likes on Facebook and places like that, that we think all those thousands of people are our true friends. I'm talking about the kind of friend, as one of my colleagues, Aaron King, said in a presentation not long ago, you need the kind of friend you can call 3 o'clock in the morning and not to gossip about what's going on, but to say, I'm having a rough time. I don't know if I can make it. Can you be that kind of friend? Can you make that kind of promise that you can be that kind of person, or you have that kind of person in your life? Can you promise to have that level of character and depth about who you are? Lastly, the promise to treat the environment well, the environment that we depend on. How about that kind of promises? So the promises that we keep to get us through the challenges of life, even though the woods are lovely, they're dark and they're deep. He ends it by saying, I have miles to go before I sleep. It might be moments. For some of us, it will be miles. For some others of us, it will be moments before we sleep. Is your journey well? Have you made promises? Have you created promises that will help you get through the journey? The woods are lovely, dark, and deep. But I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. It's repeated again, and miles to go before I sleep. So I encourage you to look for an opportunity to consider those words a little deeper. The things that you are presented with that are lovely, that could take you off your course, that are dark, that are deep. Consider the opportunity of developing and refining the promises that you've made to you to take care of you, that you've made to others who you would consider a true friend. Consider looking for an opportunity to refine and rebuild those things. Next, I encourage you to consider what the possibility of that life would be like if you met that kind of friend. Not just that you were that kind, but you met someone who says, you know, hell or high water, I'm going to stick with you. You don't see that in marriages. You don't see that in religion. You don't even see that in family. So when we talk about that kind of friendship, I'm not just talking about family, because sometimes you can't count on family for what you might need. I'm talking about a friend who exists beyond blood, but it can include blood. Consider the possibility of meeting one of those, reconnecting with that kind of cousin, that kind of auntie, that kind of friend, even at this point in life, because they say that you sometimes don't connect with people as we did when we were 12 years old. That was in a movie, I think Stand By Me. But the reality is that even at this point in life, you cross paths with some people who may bring that to the table. Consider the possibility of how rich your life would become, and think of how rich you could make someone else's life by just being that kind of person without expecting anything back from them. Lastly, expect and experience the miracles that will expand as you journey through the woods of life. Expect and experience the miracles that will become present as you become more mindful of your moments. You develop tools and strategies for breathing in what's good and exhaling what is not good, and picking up these things that you can do and that you can't do. Man, experience a miraculous journey that you could have, not just making it through like many others who are just bricks and building, but be a part of that 10%er that's in the mindful community of those architects of their dreams and of their visions. Expect and experience those miracles to happen in your life today, in your moments as you travel and journey. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this wonderful community, this this beautiful, unique moment in time that will never be repeated, pass the video on. Share it, pass the message on with someone else. And until we cross paths again, I wish you always wellness in your journey as you travel with respect. Till next time.